Let me ask you something. How many different ways do you think there are to click a button? 1, 2, maybe 3 if you're feeling creative? Well, according to the brilliant minds behind software patents, there are apparently hundreds, each one deserving its own little fortress of legal paperwork and licensing fees. Welcome to the wonderful, absurd carnival of the software patent system, where common sense goes to die and innovation is taxed for sport. And while we're here together tearing this nonsense apart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because unlike software patents, sharing knowledge freely is still legal. For now, take the infamous case of Amazon's one-click payment patent. Yes, you heard that right. Amazon managed to secure a patent not for teleportation, not for cold fusion, not even for self-replicating AI. No, they patented the idea that if you save your payment details, you should be able to buy something with a single click instead of multiple. This was granted as if it were some profound scientific breakthrough, rather than what any half-awake developer would come up with before their second cup of coffee. The result? Apple had to license this patent just to let people buy songs on iTunes without having to fill in their address every time. Think about the absurdity. A trillion-dollar company paying another trillion-dollar company to let people click once instead of twice. That's not innovation. That's legalized extortion, dressed up in the language of intellectual property. And it doesn't stop there. The system loves to multiply itself. If you think there's just one patent for an obvious idea, think again. Variants sprout up like weeds. Click once on the left side, click once on the right side, tap once, but only if it's Tuesday. Different companies rush to file slightly reworded versions of the same idea, until you end up with the equivalent of 3 Spider-Men pointing at each other, each insisting they invented pointing. The patent office, apparently allergic to irony, stamps them all approved, and suddenly we have a battlefield of overlapping nonsense where lawyers are the only true innovators. So what happens if you're an open source creator, and your project suddenly collides with one of these patents? You build something with passion, community, and transparency, and then, surprise, someone else claims they own the right to your idea because they filed a document 20 years ago. It's like being mugged, except the robber has a legal team and calls it protection of innovation. There are, thankfully, ways to cope. One approach is what the lawyers politely call design around. What does that mean in practice? It means you sit down, read through the bloated, jargon-laden language of a patent, and then twist your code just enough to dodge its legal minefield. You implement the same end result, but through a different path, like sneaking around a guard tower at night instead of knocking on the front door. It's messy, it's inefficient, and it's energy you could have spent actually improving your project. But in the world of software patents, creativity often means creative avoidance. You're not rewarded for building better tools. You're rewarded for finding loopholes in other people's claims to obvious ideas. Another strategy is what I like to call offshoring innovation. Patents, after all, are territorial. A patent granted in the United States doesn't automatically apply in Europe, Asia, or beyond. So one option is to shift development, hosting, or distribution outside the jurisdiction where the patent is enforceable. It's a game of legal geography. Move your servers, your developers, your infrastructure, and suddenly the patent no longer blocks you. Is it ideal? Not at all. It can complicate governance, logistics, and funding. But it's a way to breathe when the suffocating blanket of one country's broken patent system threatens to choke your project. It's the modern equivalent of intellectual exile, forced to leave home not because you're wrong, but because your local laws are. Of course, there are other strategies, joining a consortium to pool resources, negotiating licenses to buy peace, or even challenging the validity of a patent outright. But those require time, money, and a level of stamina not every open source team has. I go into much more detail about these advanced tactics on my Patreon, where I break down the practical steps, the pitfalls, and the stories from projects that have been through this fire before. If you want the deeper dive, you know where to find me. The link is in the description. But let me be clear about why I even bother talking about this. I believe open source deserves better than to be crushed under the weight of a broken legal system designed for a different age. I help open source creators secure the long-term sustainability of their projects, not just technically, but financially and strategically. My mission is simple: to show that open source is not just a development model for enthusiasts, but a business model for professionals. It can be profitable without betraying its values. It can inspire trust in governance, attract investment, and deliver real value to users, all while staying true to the ethos that makes open source powerful in the first place. I'm convinced of this because I've lived it. I've seen how fragile open source projects can be, how quickly passion can turn to burnout when the world feels stacked against you. And I've also seen how, with the right strategy, the same projects can grow into reliable, respected enterprises. This is the work I do, helping creators turn their vision into something durable, trusted, and viable. So yes, the software patent system is a farce. It's outdated, it's counterproductive, and it often borders on parody. But we don't have to let it define the future of open source. Together, with clarity, strategy, and conviction, we can build projects that outlast the nonsense. Projects that thrive not in spite of these obstacles, but because we chose to rise above them. And that is the future worth fighting for. If this made you rethink how absurd software patents really are, hit like, subscribe for more open source truth bombs, and tell me in the comments, what's the most ridiculous patent you've ever heard of?